My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Good morning. It is Monday, September 8th, 2025. It's currently 8:37 a.m. and this is documentation of the ongoing pattern of conduct exposing the United States government that is engaged in criminal surveillance. And this is criminal surveillance that is of a very specific nature. It's demonic, and it is that which is committed in furtherance of a greater criminal purpose, which is to commit murder and kidnapping, because it is the government that's engaging in criminal surveillance, unbeknownst to ordinary American citizens. And it is also that which is occurring in a satanic nature with regard to the malice of that government that's maintaining unrevealed secret means of surveillance, and the government is engaging in what is also exposing unprecedented public corruption while engaging in a satanic means of criminal surveillance in concert with the civilian population, legally referred to in a federal case for domestic terrorism, because that's exactly what this turns out to be, the people of the state. And this is in the state of California. And the pattern of conduct is also revealing to the rest of the United States of America, the rest of the country, that you too are under surveillance based on the nature of the evidence, based on the implications, based on science, based on what is impossible to be the case over me and what is mutually impossible to be over you at the same time, at any time.
Okay, so this is the P.O.C. I'm Erica Lorenz Spencer, and this is documentation of the people of the state coming from Economy Inn at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. And I'm documenting the fake sun on Euclid Avenue. And you're mindful of the bigger picture. And at this time of year in 2024, for example, one angle, the entity's keeping the fake sun over the Holiday Inn, specifically over my window, my hotel room, and my window of my hotel room for the duration of the day, outside in alignment with me when I'm getting breakfast at that Holiday Inn at 9750 Key Point Road in Hesperia, California, and keeping it setting in alignment to me. So that's duration of the day, maintenance of a fake sun that does not move from my hotel, and while I'm documenting the same P.O.C. in 2024. And that same analysis is going for year to year to year. When you're getting to how you would analyze any natural environment, you're going to prosecute the government, you're going to recognize the malicious pattern of conduct in criminal surveillance as you are comparing it to what we understand the natural environment looks like, behaves like, and what is, in other words, the illusions. That's audible activity of mentally ill psychopaths who are monitoring while they are hostile to the truth that's being exposed to you. That's a psychopath and that's a demon. They're doing it under the fake sun, and everything that you're hearing is relevant to an obsession with me. Like I stated, it's ongoing corroborating evidence, and this is the entity that is caught up in a cycle, which is leading up to its own demise. The entity that is engaging in this pattern of conduct is doing so in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct, and you would analyze that from year to year to year. The P.O.C. is initiated with regard to evidence and the public investigation of the United States government in 2018. Technically, it will be 2017 because I am subject to the pattern of conduct within the context of being surrounded by demons who are playing church in Rialto, California at what is the religious organization Sunrise Church in Rialto off of Ayala and Riverside Avenue in Rialto, where the entity is engaged in gang stalking. They're doing it under the guise of using the name of Jesus literally as audible activity and monitoring, and the pattern of conduct is executed at a fake church with regard to just being harassed. I'm being harassed and I'm also being sexually violated. They maintain cameras inside of Sunrise Church, and now in hindsight you're understanding the sexual violence and the surveillance that's underway while the government, that's the Rialto Police Department, that's the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, that is the entity that's gang stalking by aerial surveillance. And this is before the entity began this pronounced form that you are now witnessing all over the internet. That is relevant to what is worldwide, in other words, which is relevant to public exposure, which is absolutely necessary when you are exposing a government that is trying to murder you and kidnap you and do so in secret. Public exposure is absolutely necessary, and it's also necessary when you're dealing with Satan, who is a spirit, and who relies on secrecy, relies on keeping a level of, even though there's no such thing as privacy, the demon-possessed want to maintain quote-unquote privacy. That's what's so preposterous and humorous with the demons at, for example, Starbucks, calling that a public property. And that's relevant to the malicious pattern of conduct, and that's going to be a very intense prosecution. But nonetheless, the entity, demons, Satan, this entity, would very much like to maintain that level of containment, and that is absolutely not going to happen. It's already been removed. The entity you're witnessing also, there are so many angles that are exposed to you with regard to mental illness. And what you know about the gang stalker, no matter what they look like, no matter what their position is, no matter what area they're coming from, you know everything about the gang stalker. You know the gang stalker is a demon. You know the gang stalker is mentally ill. The particular type of illness is relevant to that which is psychopathic, antisocial, delusional. It is also, you also know that the gang stalker is engaged in pedophilia, sex with children in particular. This is a sexually perverted and demented entity that's engaging in what is focusing on sex crimes, sexual activity that is deviant, that is perverted, that is satanic, that is ritualistic. And this is what this cult and this cult culture is relying on with regard to their practice of witchcraft and their satanic means of targeting someone. And it's criminal activity committed by a government in concert with the people of the state who are exposed as government actors, not private citizens, which is the case when you are engaging in surveillance with the government. The government is relying on your engagement in that pattern of conduct, which does not deviate. The specific environment does not change. The behavioral pattern in that specific environment does not change. The people of the state are engaging in that P.O.C. in the same exact manner. It's just the demons that have access to helicopters and police vehicles, they sound sirens. They engage in psychopathic conduct and pacing around you in the sky space over your head in a helicopter. The people of the state are doing the same thing. Amplified audible activity of their car alarms, of their motors, of them accelerating, of them honking their horns, of them even engaging in what is the amplified audible activity of whatever it is that they have at their disposal while all they're doing is pacing. And how are you able to recognize a population that is millions of people throughout the day on Euclid Avenue and all they're doing is going around in circles around me, pacing? Because the specific environment where they're doing this, which is a stage, which is proven to be that by science, the sun doesn't go anywhere, meaning it remains over me all day long. And also this poorly set stage where they are all stalking, meaning a population's not going anywhere. Creating the illusion of traffic, meaning you've got a destination, you're going here. As an entity, they're not going anywhere. They're maintaining surveillance in that environment that is perpetually present. And that is also informing about what's happening at nightfall, because engineered light is remaining at nightfall. This is where you're seeing the entity that is where I'm in Ontario engaging in proven, demented stalking that's committed in furtherance of murder, committed pursuant to what is sex crimes like pedophilia and sex trafficking, and doing so while they're engaging in criminal surveillance of literally the evidence now, because now they're monitoring the prosecutor. Now they're monitoring what is a whistleblower. Now they're monitoring the person that's engaged in real-time, ceaseless public exposure, and that mental illness that I told you about at the outset is manifesting itself to you. You're witnessing it. What sane person is going to be engaging in this psychopathic conduct in front of the entire world? The psychopath that was always that mentally ill psychopath, always obsessed, always stalking, and so obsessed and psychotic and delusional that they continue doing it even while everyone is looking at the collection of evidence in real time. Those are the demon possessed in California, and they fill the government, every level of government. By the way, 8:45 a.m., you will see the published list of what Alan D. WAPNER, this is a sex offender engaging in the state system of federal group stalking and monitoring, the United States government's criminal system of surveillance in the United States. And on the Ontario International website is a published list regarding arrivals and departures. At 8:45 a.m., arrivals are listed at 8:15 and 8:55 a.m. There are arrivals which would be in the direction east toward the Ontario International Airport, which also would not include flight west hovering over the Ontario International Square, engaging in any sort of competition with my speech, with my podcast. And also it's under the fake sun that you know is still here, like I captured yesterday, Amazon Prime Air, stalking, proven by what is the sun that's here at 8:45. It's still here after 4 p.m. And that's proven because the government is corrupt and will lie in order to defame an innocent American citizen. And because Satan is a liar, a spirit that is acting through a corrupt government, engaging in a satanic system of monitoring, which is demonic, and what is also surveillance while they are criminally misusing technology, communication devices, and the internet to engage in surveillance unbeknownst to American citizens in violation of your constitutional and human rights. That's why it's documented, because it is evidence that is irreducible and insurmountable. And that fake sun documentation, that engineered light, that is not going to be disregarded in federal court at all. And it's also the evidence of mental illness of the entity that's actually sick, that sought to criminally defame me when you sit up relying on witchcraft and voodoo and sex with children, and you sought to criminally defame the target individual. They are going to be diagnosed and convicted of what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is the evidence of severe mental illness that is a threat to the public, a national security threat. The entity that is murdering people, the entity that is kidnapping people, the entity that is stealing from people and then setting American citizens up for criminal activity that they did not commit. And even doing that against American citizens who may have, for example, the reason why I am an excellent witness, and I don't want to say a victim because I'm the one that is exposing it. The Lord God permitted it to happen to me so that I can let you know what Satan is doing, what the government is doing. The entity is doing so while there are American citizens that perhaps they've made a mistake before. Say they I don't know, committed some sort of crime, plane activity at 8:45 a.m., going in the direction west, and we'll analyze what Alan D. Wapner is publishing with regard to what is removal from position and prosecution for terrorism, as I've shown on Euclid Avenue as of June of 2025, which is relevant for what's been documented since 2018. Alan D. Wapner is engaged in the conspiracy to commit murder, and every airline is engaging in that. And I want to be clear, these airlines are engaged in international flight. They're terrorizing citizens in other countries in the same way that they are in the United States. And they're so desperate, they're doing it right now because they're fearful of what I'm speaking. What same person? Okay, that's speaking to a level of desperation. Okay, so not only are they insane, they're desperate, engaging in criminal conduct as you're analyzing the P.O.C, the specific environment, the absence of any planes hovering over town square when you are taken off from the airport, and you're also doing so outside of the published list of arrivals and departures on the website. But nonetheless, the entity is doing it based on what is desperation. That's how desperate the demon-possessed are who are mentally ill. Okay, now the entity is engaged in this P.O.C, and I am documenting as of 2018, the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, they're doing so pursuant to what is monitoring the evidence that I have been collecting and publishing it online. So you're all witnessing what is a public investigation, because the government that's engaged in public corruption, the government doesn't have any privacy. Neither do the civilian population that are sharing in this criminal pattern of conduct. And that is where you're getting to what is very malicious conduct by third parties such as YouTube, who's committed the criminal act against me, but also is devoid of any sort of privacy while maliciously acting as a third party engaged in protecting the privacy of the entity that it's targeting at the same time. That's the entity that's conspiring your murder. That's the entity that targets American citizens, as I am comparing myself with regard to somebody that does not have quite an immaculate record, that has perhaps made a mistake in their past, but is not engaged in this criminal system. And also, regardless of what your opinion is about them, it doesn't matter. You maintain a constitutional right to not be set up by the government. You maintain a constitutional and human right to not be monitored by the government. You maintain a constitutional and human right to not be set up for crimes that you did not commit. And this is what the entity that's engaged in surveillance unbeknownst to American citizens, that's engaged in targeting anybody that they find that they is some sort of threat, or that they just want to do away with. This is inherent to this corrupt system. And so you'll have those that have some sort of mistakes. I mean, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but say you trafficking drugs, say you sold drugs at one time in your life, and you have changed your life. That perhaps you made a mistake at one point, and you may not even be that person, or you're just an imperfect human being and you have some sort of blemish on your record. The entity uses this to defame your character and stating that this is what you are and this is what you do. And the entity engages in relying on gang conduct. The people of the state that are gang stalking are the same ones that bear false witness and say you committed a crime against them, and they have witnesses that are testifying, and they even have DNA evidence to prove it, that which they're manipulating, that which they are controlling. And I want to be clear, the entity is doing so while they are, under all circumstances, controlling the facts that they're telling you about. They tell you about what the evidence says. They tell you about evidence that doesn't exist when it does exist. And they tell you about footage that's on the body cam that does exist, but they removed it. Body cam footage that's captured, body cam footage that's removed and not a part of the court hearings. These are just examples, practical examples of the demons that are stalking by airplanes based on desperation. Desperation right now, because they would rather be prosecuted for what is surveillance in furtherance of murder by gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square at 8:45 and 8:48 a.m. outside of the published arrivals and departures from the airport that would never include flight hovering over me, competing with my voice under what is also, the fake sun conclusive evidence of targeting me in furtherance of murder, because of the entity's ongoing desperation regarding what it is that I'm documenting, which they are keeping under surveillance. That's desperation, and that is also a threat. Okay, the entity's engaging in this, and this is all relevant to why it is not only something that happened to me, but it happened to me so that you know what other American citizens who may not have a perfect record. It doesn't mean that they don't have a constitutional right to equal protection under the law, to not be subject to targeting by the government, to not be subject to what are murders and kidnappings, because the government, for whatever reason, because the people of the state who are gang members, who pick and choose, I want to target this person. This is what we're going to get. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields did. That's why they're going to prison. That's exactly what they did. Money and property that belongs to me. And so Tracy Banks has been targeting me since I was a child, and so has the government, knowing exactly who I am, by the way, knowing, again, at a level of advancement, not mental illness at all. That's malice. While, by the way, you're engaging in surveillance, you're sitting up monitoring my vagina. You know exactly what it is that I'm doing and not doing. That's speaking to malice when you're making false allegations. In other words, you also know that I'm documenting you stalking me, trying to kill me and kidnap me. And you are making false allegations in furtherance of that criminal objective with the intent to obstruct justice while you're keeping the evidence against you under surveillance. When I say Jason Knighton, Lester Keys, S. Patty, A. Morris, Corporal Kemp, Jonathan Burnett, the entity that's engaged in what is kidnappings, okay, Jay Arnold, and those that I'm documenting as of 2025, C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, C. Hazelwood, Owens. You have L. Edwards, Alex Escobar, A. Casada. They're going to federal prison. This is no small thing. This is terrorism in the United States. And guess what these cockroaches are doing? They're creeping around all on B Street and C Street and D Street and Euclid Avenue and C Street behind me. And they're sitting around stalking in the parking garage at the Ontario downtown luxury apartments. They're parked on in the alley, all around sitting, listening to me. Stalking in fire trucks, police vehicles, in helicopters, stalking. What I document is when the entity is engaging in monitoring. What is monitoring? Engaging in the elements of audible activity. So that means you're using that helicopter to engage in what is monitoring. They're always engaging in surveillance, ceaselessly using helicopters, all manners of criminal use of resources of a police department. That's why the Ontario police are being disbanded. They're engaging in monitoring, which is demonic, and it's also surveillance when they use the helicopter as a means of audible activity, when they use the helicopter as a means of me seeing it, me hearing it, it pacing around me in relevant position, and doing so in the engineered light. They're monitoring. They're demons. That's also going to be used, evidence that's going to be used while you're engaging in monitoring. You're presenting evidence regarding medical professionals who are not corrupt, who are not terrorists, and they're going to diagnose you relevant to your criminal activity. And I provided a wealth of evidence for that purpose. Every time the entity, the demons who are not going to remain some sort of mystery, you are literally going to produce your name while you were using the heliport, using that helicopter, your name as the future medical patient that you are going to be. And the inmate in prison that you are going to be, you're going to be produced, and your mental illness is a matter of video documentation, pacing like a psychopath, terrorizing another person that you're conspiring to murder while you surmise that you would get away with it. And your mental illness is supposed to depict another person's mind state. You're sick and delusional, and you're going to be diagnosed and prosecuted. And all of those demons whose names I just documented, they have been engaged in criminal activity that's going to be used against each of them, and it is a statewide pattern of conduct. This is how you have the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department gang stalking me by helicopter in Victorville, where the fake sun is rising and setting over me at the Palmdale Road Holiday Inn. What is the Ontario Police Department doing in that same specific environment, because it's not the natural environment, as we can compare what's going on in Florida amongst the Miami-Dade Police Department, just to throw out one agency, and expose to you what is surveillance going on throughout the country? Yeah, they're already surrounded with a case. It's been complete. The entity, including YouTube, a very rich and influential third-party corrupt actor, thinking that they can squash the little guy, thinking that they can outnumber and outsize them, steal from them, conspire their murder, gang stalk them, and falsely depict them. Those are fools. This is what I say. Listen, the demon-possessed, they are only big in numbers. They are not big in wit. They're not. They're not witty. It's just wickedness. They are absolutely imbecilic, inferior in every regard. As much money and as much resources, as much studies as you conduct, as much research as you do, as educated as all you claim that you have, all these people that work, and you are idiotic enough to think that sort of, you're relying on corruption. You're relying, and it's totally illogical. That's not the practice of medicine. That's not any sort of logical reasoning. That's not within the practice of law. Because you practice medicine, that doesn't make you exempt from the practice of law. There are legal standards that the medical profession must abide by, that they are governed by. The entity is merely relying on its identity and corruption. So you have the entity that includes those with deep pockets, YouTube, on the video of the internet, a part of this pattern of conduct. You have the entity, the government itself, gang stalking, thousands of videos of you targeting me. And you still thought that evidence of you stalking, which is how anybody that is going to be prosecuted for stalking is going to be proven to be engaging in that. You thought that the evidence of you targeting someone else is going to falsely depict the character, or you thought that you were going to accomplish murder before a case arrived, and you thought that that also wasn't going to be questioned, that wasn't going to be viewed as suspicious, it was just going to disappear off the map. And you thought this because of your mental illness while you're falsely depicting and defaming somebody else, but you sit up engaging in what is witchcraft and voodoo and using voodoo dolls and praying to Satan and running around in the nude under the fake moon at nightfall. And you're the one engaging with a psychopathic pacing under what is a sun that's not even the natural environment, exhibiting mental illness through and through, and you have the nerve to try to criminally defame someone else when the evidence of your mental illness, it's in front of the whole world. This is it's bombastic, and it is beyond what is anything other than corruption by the government that's merely relying on because the government says so, because the government is, and that's what it's going to be. And that is over. That's over. Okay? And that's over. Why? Not because I said so, because in court, which is the authority that I'm standing on, the law, okay? And I'm also standing on the authority of Christ Jesus, okay? But I want to be clear, the authority of the law, and the law requires that you prove through evidence, and the allegations have been proven and some, okay? There is a surplus of evidence of not just targeting, but corruption at every level of government. And the entities engaging in what is specifically federal stalking. Federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. So you're getting to not only the crime, but then the nature of the crime, and then all of that which is known while they commit that crime, and the objective behind committing that crime, and the ways in which that crime is executed, and the ongoing mind state behind as the crime is committed, the ceaseless engagement in that crime. What is necessarily the case while you're committing that type of crime? Obsession, addiction, delusion. All right? Malice, impunity. Oh, these are all, the reason why I pointed out is because, there's a point to it. There is a very real point to it. And the entities engage in conduct that it's going to stand literally in a courtroom, and we're going to run the tape back. And there's a lot of tapes. The evidence is not going to be disregarded. The evidence will never bear negatively on any American citizen. This is common sense. And the entity is engaging in what is conduct that's exposing its mental illness. And contrary to what you have been conditioned to believe, mental illness is shared by a population of people who are together conspiring against innocent people. And even if you've got a previous blemish on your record and you're imperfect, and so the government thought that they could set you up because you've committed a crime back then, and they're just it doesn't matter. You are innocent insofar as you're innocent of the allegations that the government is trying to pin on you. You're innocent with regard to your right to be free from targeting under any circumstances, no matter how imperfect you are. The government, this is not personal. This has to do with the propriety of the government, what the law requires. The government is all outside of the bounds of the law. I mean, the police to the sheriff to the court. All right, so it is, again, while you're listening to that plane activity, I want you to look at what was uploaded on the Google Drive. Arrivals from the Ontario International Airport. So that would be flights that are going toward 2500 Airport Drive, which is, generally speaking, going to be headed in the east direction. The entity is hovering in the direction west over the Ontario Town Square, because you can hear it. It's competing with my voice. And it's happening rapidly, 8:45 and 8:48 a.m., while the entity is monitoring and engaging in what a heavily documented tactic. This is a psychological tactic. While the entity provides evidence of targeting me, their, again, misinformed tactic is that while they engage in documented criminal activity, the purpose is to engage in what is a distraction, and do so while they're supposedly intimidating you and threatening you and stopping you from documenting, and it's documented acts of terrorism. It's documented acts of obstruction of justice. It's documented evidence of surveillance. Not only are you targeting, but you know what I'm doing. You're targeting very, very heavily, okay? The entity's engaging in this while I return to the topic at 9:02 a.m. These are the demons who are mentally ill. These are the demons who rely on witchcraft. These are the demons who are flying planes, and they crash into buildings and helicopters and bodies of water, and it's reported to you as accidents, and they're murders. They're mentally unstable. The demon possessed. Okay? The entity's engaged in what is failed witchcraft. And they are the mentally ill who project mental illness. While the entity is seeking to criminally defame me, this is an entity that knows that it's sick, and they seek to and fail at trying to project that onto someone else. That's why you're stalking in commercial planes and helicopters. 902 and 903. So you're going to look at what is published online while L&D WAPNER, both in a position of the corrupt Omnitrans public transport. I'm showing you the fake sun street for street, block by block, going north of Euclid Avenue, that fake sun remaining in alignment to me. I get off that bus, that fake sun sits there, and that bus drives off. L&D WAPNER is associated with the public corruption of Omnitrans, gang stalking and targeting and furtherance of murder, a demonic system of surveillance, that supernatural feature of the public corruption of that business. And L&D WAPNER is associated that, and he's also associated with the corruption of the Ontario International Airport, where a fake sun remains over me, while demons using means of interstate commerce, that is commercial planes, and also smaller government planes, and helicopters as well, are, and that's the city of Ontario. Mike LORENZ is being exposed while the entity is stalking in helicopters. L&D WAPNER is exposed, and that corruption using planes and the public transportation, means of interstate commerce, while federal stalking is underway. And the entity is doing so. Pay attention to targeting. You're identifying it by not only stalking me in the path, but also by the timing, what it is that I'm discussing as they engage in that which I am discussing. These are the mentally ill and the intellectually inept. Okay, they're doing so as I return to the topic. It's based on desperation, and it's based on a failed tactic. Satan is inferior, and all of Satan's tactics are being hereby revealed to you so that you would know. Because many of you, when you are ignorant of the enemy's devices, they may have more of an ability to be effective towards you. But when you are informed, such acts which Satan, who is a spirit, demons, who are engaged in what are trying to torment you, torture you, when you're aware of such tactics, it is very often less effective, because you're aware, when that spirit is attacking you, it will engage in repeating it over and over and over again. As you think about it, observe it. If you are in any way responsive to it or affected negatively by it, that's exactly what those demons will continuously do. Now, that's very ineffective and imprudent and unwise and misinformed when you're being prosecuted for stalking and targeting. And you're recognizing targeting in the specific environment. They're doing it under the fake sun, as I return to the topic, in a manner that is totally proven with regard to you're not taking off or flying toward the airport and landing when you're hovering over 224 North Euclid Avenue, where the sun is remaining all day long, like I documented yesterday, like I've been documenting since 2018 as a matter of evidence. So you're going to pay attention to that. The arrivals from 2500 Airport Drive, that's Ontario International Airport, 8:45 a.m. The entity has what is listed at Southwest Airlines arriving, flight number WN 1370 from Las Vegas, gate 404, terminal 4. That's 8:15 a.m. That's not quite what is at 8:45 a.m. That's a 30-minute disparity. And also 8:55 a.m. where the entity is Delta Airlines coming from Salt Lake City. That's flight number DL 1345. Gate number 209, Terminal 2 is where they would be arriving. And that's not going to include common sense and also a thorough investigation of the federal government that is going to, this is part of not only a prosecution, but a study in understanding how the United States is engaging in domestic terrorism throughout the states. And they are, as you also know, the template, every police department, every sheriff's department, every fire department, every a service provider of ambulatory services like the domestic terrorist American Medical Response. Every airport, this is including LAX, this is including the airport in, for example, Orange County. So you already know that John Wayne is engaged in surveillance. John Wayne Airport. You already know that Costa Mesa Police. You already know that Orange County Sheriff is engaged in the pattern of conduct, which I have I've already provided that evidence establishing that, but this is understanding the pattern of conduct at a macro level, as you have witnessed the entity gang stalking me, and doing so while providing you the evidence of studying it and understanding how it's executed throughout the states. Okay, the entity is doing so as you are also looking at what the information that they provide. Because that which is arriving at the airport isn't flying over me at 8:45 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. And greater context is that not only are they deviating from what any investigation of the airport would show, arrivals, landings, and takeoffs from 2500 Airport and 2900 Airport does not include flying 4 miles northwest to hover over the Ontario Town Square at 224 North Euclid Avenue. or 2 miles away, hovering over. Takeoffs from the airport include a sharp incline into the sky space. Those of you who have been on a plane, I've traveled the world, okay? The entity is engaging in what is necessarily flying miles away from the airport, and then you're going down in elevation. They engage in the ridiculousness that I've captured over and over again, like they're taking off over the Woodside Senior Apartments, taking off over 325 West G Street when I'm at the Topor Professional Building, taking off over the 7-Eleven at 636 North Vine Avenue, taking off over the Stater Brothers at off of Holt Boulevard in San Antonio, taking off over the Starbucks at 706 West Holt. Do you understand? Those venues are even more west of this, while they're here, and under no circumstances does it even have anything to do with taking off from the airport or landing at the airport. The entity it's the absence of any logic, and it's the entity that clearly never anticipated that anyone would ever question, scrutinize, investigate, let alone prosecute. It's common sense, though, and even beyond common sense, it is a very real investigation. My public investigation is that which is to be supplemented by what the federal government shall engage in. And I want to be clear, they already are. What the entity is doing, what the city of Ontario is doing, and who is doing it is already known. You're witnessing the federal government permit me to continuously vocalize publicly what's going on, what's going to happen. And they're also sitting back and watching, because the federal policies are going to be implemented. Federal law regarding what is targeting domestic terrorists, it's going to happen. The investigation is already complete. That's how thorough this is. It's already complete. And people throughout this country know what is going on. In California, you are informed about what's going on in your country, in your state. And it's not to instill fear, but it's to let you know that pedophiles, sex offenders, psychopaths, they surround you. And also teaching you about deception, which is Satan's purpose. Because deception, illusions, lies, painting a picture in front of you, you're looking at it in black and white, and you're going to assume, just as clearly as you hear my voice and you're witnessing, that it's the truth, because how are you going to make that up? And this is how much and how close the illusion wants to appear as the real thing. And that's Satan. Okay, who was a spirit. The illusion, I'm showing you the fake sun over Ontario Town Square, that's an illusion, and it appears as the real thing. That light source is really in the sky. It's really there. And everybody is really around as though this is just every day, and they're delusional in doing so, because they're not doing so absent any evidence and proof. They're doing so while they're witnessing their real-time exposure. That's called criminal summoning in the specific environment. Michael GERKEN is already exposed, all right? American Medical Response acted with the City of Ontario, already exposed. So the entity's engaging in that, and that's an illusion, and that's also satanic. That's the objective of Satan, who wants to present to you an illusion and wants to deceive you. This is the bigger picture of what you're getting, and this is including law enforcement of the federal government. Do not be deceived, because that's exactly what they're relying on. And those getting down to not just enforcement, law enforcement, but also everyday people, okay? And I want to be clear, those who are in law enforcement, you're everyday people as well. You're not above anyone. We are all subject to Christ Jesus' judgment. And those of you who are witnessing what Christ Jesus is exposing about Satan and those who are cockroaches on his behalf, you're looking at how inferior they are. But they lie to themselves about being superior because there's millions of them, because there's an infestation, and that's not what that means. It just means that it's filthiness all over the place. And all I've done is lifted up the boulder for you so you to see all those creepy, crawling, disgusting creatures hiding in plain sight. That's all I did. That's it. The entity's engaging in this conduct, and they're doing so, and you are understanding the importance of not being deceived by what it is that you are looking at on the surface. And Satan is desperate to appear like the real thing. A witch wants to appear like they're a prophet, okay? A whore, a streetwalker, wants to appear like a pious, godly woman. And that is why, to deceive you, to get as close to you as they can. Satan's objective, another one, wants to get as close to you as they can, stare you deep in your eyes, have you enamored, and then plunge you in the stomach with a large butcher knife and twist it so that the wound never heals. That's what Satan wants to do. Okay, and how does Satan do that? First, Satan has to capture you. Okay, that's relevant to literally the protection of your life. And as the demon-possessed have shown you, in darkness, you lose your mind. Your sanity is literally at stake. And what the demon-possessed in Ontario, literally their liberty. They've sacrificed their careers. They're going to federal prison. Okay, they will forever be associated with what is going to be understanding terrorism in the United States. That criminal record, that's changing your life forever. There's no expunging that. You're getting deported. You're not coming back. And the reason why you were removed from office, public information. You're not keeping any of aspects of this a secret at all. And that's justice, by the way, while they're engaging in this. So again, let me just go over, that was criminal summoning. Everything that's occurring is occurring under a fake sun while they're all listening to me. A bunch of psychopaths who are concerned with my vagina are sitting around. I can take their picture and you know everything about them, that they're stalking, that they're conspiring murder, that they're violent sex offenders, they're engaged in pedophilia, a system of pedophilia, and they're engaged in what is state surveillance terrorism. You know all of that by me taking a picture of one person or a company name or a plane in the sky or the helicopter. And you also know that they're demons and that company is engaged in demonic conduct, corruption, this organized system of crime, taking people out and also wanting to make money, which is what the United States is about. Okay? The entity is engaging in this. And so at the Ontario International Airport, those are the arrivals from 8:15 to 8:55, 9:05 and 9:30 a.m. And that will be in the direction east with regard to flights and with regard to what's happening in alignment to what would be not the Ontario Town Square, but you're necessarily engaging in what is this donut conduct, because your flight over the Ontario Town Square in the west direction it's not in alignment with what would be a landing at that airport, just common sense. And with regard to the departures, again, that was 8:45 and 8:48. I've got 8:35 Alaska Airlines, 8:35 Southwest Airlines, 8:50 Southwest Airlines, and 9:15 Southwest Airlines. These are flights going toward, Alaska's going toward Honolulu, flight number AS270, gate 203. At 8:35 Southwest Airlines, again, not quite 8:45 a.m., and it certainly doesn't take 10 minutes to take off from the airport at 2500 Airport Drive, gate 407, going toward Las Vegas. Southwest Airlines, which is engaging in what is takeoffs from a destination. A flight from the airport that's taken off is going straight up in the sky, high up in the sky, and that does not include a takeoff. That includes miles away from that airport terminal to hover over Ontario Town Square and then proceed with the rest of your flights. Now, the people of the state are gang stalking, so Southwest Airlines is very much engaged in likely all the demons that paid for a flight to Las Vegas sharing and gang stalking en route to Las Vegas. But nonetheless, a flight to Las Vegas is going to be headed in the direction east. Okay, you're not flying west to go toward Las Vegas. And not only that, it does not include flying miles away from the airport, hovering over the Ontario Town Square. And it's also not happening at 8:45 and 8:48 a.m. This is what is published on the Ontario International website. While the entity is engaging in this, 9:15 and 9:50 a.m., while the entity is engaging in that conduct, this is what you're also paying attention to. This is all angles of surrounding the entity with evidence, and that's just a common sense level. There's a body of evidence speaking to there is no possible way that it's anything other than an ongoing pattern of conduct and not a perpetual coincidence. It is also surrounding with what is unmistakable scientifically relevant evidence. They're doing it under a fake sun that remains over me from sunrise until sunset. They're doing it under evidence of what is a suspicious environment with regard to the stalking with impossible light. They're doing it pursuant to a pattern of conduct of being targeted by law enforcement who tend to make up information about me. And I've never been a criminal. I am a legally trained professional who's been targeted in the workplace, which I've also proven through evidence committed by criminal conduct committed by the Los Angeles Police Department, stalking under a fake sun at Alvarado Gardens, where I am the property manager at that venue where I live and work. And the entity kept the fake sun, and that's also evidence to be used against the gang stalking police who have made up information against me. Because if the fake sun is remaining over Alvarado Gardens, that's how you know it's a fake sun, because it's also over Euclid Avenue from sunrise until sunset. While the demons are making up information, committing kidnappings, that's not law enforcement, where the Ontario International Airport is engaging in a documented pattern of targeting me in that specific environment amongst a corrupt documented criminal acts by that entity, targeting and harassment by sex offenders who are obsessed with my vagina, stalking in that environment day and night, doing so with that government that's using the planes and the helicopters in that specific environment with impossible light under that fake sun. While the entity engages in acts of kidnapping because they are engaging in surveillance indeed, including surveillance of that evidence, and surmise that they would get away with the kidnapping to obstruct justice. And actually what you've done is now you've created a case for domestic terrorists who are going straight to federal prison for kidnapping upon the gang stalking. You're going to federal prison. All right, that's relevant to that P.O.C. This is where the Ontario International Airport is targeting. All right, and they've been doing so for years in furtherance of murder. Alan D. Wapner is not just gang stalking. Alan D. Wapner is gang stalking in furtherance of murder. Alan D. Wapner is a mentally ill psychopath who went to the extent to target with planes with the intent to obstruct justice. And again, this is absolutely ridiculous. You're stalking and you're being documented as you're stalking, and to engage in more stalking while it's documented, that is not going to rebut the evidence of your stalking. It's more corroborating evidence that you are indeed stalking and that you know that you're being documented for stalking while the entity is flying over the Ontario Town Square and engaging in what is a U-turn. Ontario police are engaged in crossing path as well. I'm observing them while I'm speaking. I don't refer to it because I'm speaking, and those demons are done. They're pathetic. They're driving west on B Street as the entity is gang stalking with Securitas, standing under the amphitheater of the Ontario Town Square, monitoring on a communication device. That's Securitas, a third party. Ontario police are crossing path on B Street, and this is B Street at Euclid. And the entity is also engaged in what is crossing path. That was Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is doing so. Again, it's 9:18 a.m. The entity is maintaining the fake sun right here. And this is where Amazon Prime Air is gang stalking after 4 p.m. while I am standing on this side of the wall. And this fake sun is right here. And I'm capturing Amazon Prime Air stalking, flying over this location, sky space, monitoring me while I'm at the same 224 North Euclid Avenue. Every airline of the associated with the Ontario International Airport is engaged in criminal surveillance. They're doing so with the Ontario Police Department. They're monitoring in real time. These are demons who are engaged in also criminal activity. And here's the Ontario Fire Department engaging in monitoring in real time while they're keeping the evidence under surveillance. That's a demon. All right, the Ontario Fire Department at 9:59 a.m. under the fake sun that's over the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library crosses path like they are now, driving. Oh, excuse me, that's not Ontario Fire. Is that? That's a third-party gang stalker. They're monitoring vicariously. Ontario Fire is gang stalking as an entity, acting directly, and that's a third party though, but that's not an Ontario Fire Department vehicle, so I want to correct that. The entities engaging what is keeping the fake sun in Ontario Fire, who are demons monitoring, they're doing so while driving underneath the fake sun and engineer light moving all around on the ground. Those are demons. And they're also engaged in surveillance, and that's a threat while you are driving a state vehicle, monitoring the evidence against you, exhibiting demon possession, and doing so while you're threatening me and doing so with engineer light, because Michael GERKEN's face needs to be known to the world as a sex offender conspiring in my murder by gang stalking as a whole fire department. And that's why that demon did that on video, and he's mentally ill in doing so, because you're accumulating evidence against the state and that department. But nonetheless, that's P.O.C. There is no arrivals or departures. That includes flying over the Ontario Town Square and making a U-turn like Southwest Airlines just did, at the same time that the Ontario police are crossing path on B Street. And B Street and Euclid is where the Ontario police are stalking by helicopter after 6 p.m., which I've documented as well. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:20 a.m. All right, so the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and is doing so while I'm capturing that P.O.C. I'm capturing video. And the entity is doing so while they're all monitoring that evidence. And this is the demons who are addicted. All right, understand that this is not an exaggeration regarding mental illness. The entity has been engaged in what is worshiping me in the spirit. While you're engaged in stalking someone, while you're engaged in the use of witchcraft, while you're summoning demonic spirits, it is idolatry. And you become what is obsessed with that person. Not only while you're providing physical evidence of your obsession, i.e. stalking, but this is a spiritual condition, and that spiritual condition is also manifesting in behavior. So these are demons who are literally obsessed, and they are using what they have at their disposal. The demons that are practicing witchcraft who are mentally ill are using planes and police vehicles and helicopters with regard to this satanic means of surveillance, and it is exposing what is severe, far-reaching, pervasive mental illness, because these are all demons. This is a population of them engaging in what is a now exposed satanic system of surveillance, where they together, this is thousands of people, millions of people who think that they have such spiritual power, and ordinarily their witchcraft accomplishes murdering people. Ordinarily, their witchcraft accomplishes successfully setting people up. Ordinarily, their witchcraft successfully accomplishes causing someone a psychological breakdown. But their witchcraft doesn't work. That's why I let you know about the demons that are monitoring in the spirit, like Tracy Banks. She's a witch. She's a psychopath. She's a pedophile. She wants to be me. She is, the reason why I give you such detail is because you need to understand the level of sickness there. Not only is her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, also obsessed. This is a demon. This is somebody whose their mental illness is severe. And it is It's dangerous. These are demons that are both sexually obsessed, and that's because of the demonic spirits that they've been playing in. And it is manifesting in what you're looking at, demons that are stalking in planes and helicopters and police vehicles and fire trucks. And this is, again, the dangers of engaging in that which the Lord God has said from the beginning. All right, playing in witchcraft, playing in these dark spirits, and doing so because they're deceived by Satan, thinking that you're going to profit from it. And there are people that take Satan up on his offer, but I want to be clear, Satan is a liar, and he's a trickster, and he also hates you. He's not your friend, okay? He's a user. In other words, he's like a pimp that sends out all of his, excuse my French, all of his, I won't even use that word, he sends out all of his streetwalkers, and he plans to use you up for all your services and not pay you. Okay, if Satan can get away with that, he will not compensate you. So this is, again, the entity that gets temporary successes, but you can't keep it because Satan doesn't have the authority to take or to actually provide or create. This is why you have this corruption. This is why you have what is conduct that's harming other people, because Satan is a thief. Satan is a destroyer. He robs people, and you're witnessing now what is an entity that's being exposed as a mentally ill population, and their mental illness is literally their evidence of stalking me. And I'm giving you context. Their conduct, their desire, their impulse, their engagement in it is because of the witchcraft that they've been engaged in for years. And literally their minds, the demons that fill them, are causing and influencing their behavior. And this is, again, going to result in what is a lot of, I'll just say, spiritual consequences. There are people that are going to suffer the demise that they prayed to demons to happen to somebody else, and it's not going to happen to that someone else. It's going to happen to them. I don't practice witchcraft. I don't wish evil on any other person. This is the reality when you are attacking, doing harm, and touching those that the Lord God said do no harm, and I'm paraphrasing, touch not and do no harm. They not only did that, they tried to kill. What is nothing, I'm nothing other than a messenger. And how did I become a messenger? Because I found myself being targeted. It's not like I put myself out there. I'm about to just create I'm going to do this, and I wasn't being ambitious. My ambition was to go to law school. I've been minding my business. I found out the government's minding my business. That's how I found out that I am in a position where I need to expose this. It was one step after another that became necessary to do in order to accomplish the objective. Okay, and the entity is engaging what is targeting someone where all of their witchcraft, not only is it not working, it's working against them, and it's also showing to shame them, shaming the devil, embarrassing them, but it's also going to be used to, in the physical and in the spiritual, there's punishment that the demon-possessed are going to suffer. Okay, and that's just based on the wicked that they've done. And remember, they've targeted people that are 6 feet under already. Okay, so the city of Ontario, the demons of the Ontario police, literally the impunity with which they're targeting me, the witchcraft that they're relying on. These demons are monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. They're stalking in the bathroom because they're looking around and monitoring to see, oh, did that witchcraft, did that sex ritual we did last night, how's it working? Is she sick? This is literally what they're doing while they're obsessively stalking and monitoring. This is what A.I.S is engaged in. And her 2 sex offending partners. They're all sex offenders. This is what the entity is obsessively monitoring to see if their witchcraft. Understand, A.I.S is mentally unstable. She's a psychopath. Okay? And it's the same with her 2 partners. All of the demons of the Ontario police, Mike LORENZ is a psychopath. These are not sane people. You know that through their criminal conduct, which I've proven through tangible evidence. I'm going farther. I'm letting you know that these are demon-possessed people. The specific environment is letting you know that. That's true. That's actually a fact. That's why the sun is over you in Mississippi, but that's a supernatural occurrence. It could not be the sun. There's only one sun. And guess what? The so-called one sun remains over me at Ontario Town Square all day long, where the psychopaths of the Ontario Police Department are on the record stalking me day and night in helicopter, targeting, which is proven through that environment, which is supernatural as well. They are unstable, maniacal psychopaths who are violent sex offenders, and their mental illness is caused by their engagement in the practice of witchcraft, obsessive practice in witchcraft, where they have developed a whole corrupt system where they steal from people, they kill people off, they do so by kidnapping people, and that's the government's kidnapping when they're engaging in a targeting system and acting like it's the operation of the criminal justice system, or the operation of the court system for mental health. Oh, we've adjudicated this person as being mentally ill, and it's a product of gang stalking. That's how you're engaging in a kidnapping. That's how the government is doing it, and it's satanic. And the entity is doing so for purposes of stealing from people. So somebody that has a genius idea for some sort of product that's going to solve questions regarding what science has been incapable of reconciling. And this is an ordinary American citizen who hasn't even told anybody about it. They've been in their home creating this, and they are targeted by the state. They wind up dead. And the entity engages in what is stealing that property, that intellectual property. You know nothing about that, though. Their family is targeting their demons. The government is targeting their demons. And the government is also sharing in what is theft of that idea, theft of everything that person created. And literally, the entity does that for those purposes. And it doesn't do it for just $52. The entity is engaged in stealing and is invested in stealing what is substantial property, what is substantial, what they find to be worthwhile. And doing so also with removing to anybody that would threaten the existence of the system. And I represent all of the above. Okay, the entity is engaging in this and is doing so, and that's just to give you a real life example of the motivation, the purpose behind targeting. And as far as the law is concerned, you don't have to have a reason or excuse as to why you're engaging in targeting. It's unlawful conduct by the government, period. And in court, it is totally inappropriate and biased for any judge to ask you, well, why are you so important? Why is the government targeting you? Why do you think they're coming after you like Thomas Garza did? A demon-possessed gang-stalking psychopath who remains responsible for the ongoing terrorism that I remain subject to date, while he evaded service of process as a state, not doing his job on the bench on purpose, in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder, the target individual that he's monitoring in that courtroom in San Bernardino, California, where I documented the fake sun over my head and the San Bernardino police stalking by helicopter, flying over the top of my head. This is in 2019 when I am documenting the pattern of conduct while seeking to file my case against the state, and the state of California evaded service of process. And that was affirmed by the corrupt California Court of Appeals, the 4th District in Riverside, and also the California Supreme Court. And that is no intricate, like deep legal question, service of process. Okay, so the reason why you have that denial, first of all, of freedom of speech, access to the courts, it's not just a bad decision. First of all, it's not a bad decision. That's very basic. Freedom of speech, that's a fundamental right. The entity is clearly violating on a very common sense, very basic, very plain issue before the courts. And they engaged in denying that fundamental right. And there is nothing that would support the court from issuing what is service of process in order to initiate your case. They thereby are evading service of process for its own criminal conduct in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And that is no civil case. That's not just some sort of civil matter that you're going to sue for. That's a criminal act. Okay, and this is the entity is doing so in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder. And what is happening when you are evading service of process? Oh, you're able to continue targeting in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder. Evading service of process is the inability, the preclusion of that civil case against the state relevant to exposure, relevant to stopping that targeting, and the entity is doing so that they can proceed with that targeting and proceed with accomplishing murder. This is what Thomas Garza is responsible for, and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department engaged in multiple kidnappings with the Ontario Police, the same ones that are subject to disbanding. Terrorist organizations that also engaged in evasion of service of process, knowing exactly who I am, knowing exactly the substance of that case. They were monitoring the entire time that I was putting the case together, that I was researching it, that I was typing it on my devices. They were monitoring, and my evidence shows that. I maintained the ongoing P.O.C, the documentation, while I was putting together my court cases, while I was suing them. Then they stole my car, the same Ontario police. They stole the car of the targeted individual. And then a psychopath claiming you don't know who it is, it was abandoned, but you're stalking me by helicopter, flying over my car every day, keeping the fake sun over my car every day. And I mean over my car, not specifically over Woodside Senior Apartments. It's over my car on Vine Avenue at 717 North Vine, from sunrise until sunset. You know exactly who I am and where I'm at. That's why you're targeting me while I'm living in my car. And you stole my car, which was beyond just my vehicle. Everything that I owned was in that car, things that are irreplaceable. There's no statute of limitations for the incalculable harms that this entity has committed with the intent to obstruct justice, with the ultimate criminal objective to commit murder. This is why the case has already been complete years in, but the entity has been engaged in ongoing acts to obstruct justice, and this is inherent to what is a corrupt government. And this is relevant to why not only are you going to federal prison, you're not getting out. You're not getting out of prison. You're not getting out. You're not getting out of federal prison. And this is what this is inherent to what are, again, how many victims have fallen to the terrorists of the Ontario police. You see the impunity with which they're targeting me. You see the violence that the Ontario International Airport commits. They're psychotic. That's an ongoing passionate desire to psychologically harm someone. Okay, and they're so delusional, and that's because of the witchcraft, the demonic spirits that they've been playing in, which cause them to lose their right mind. They're engaging in this, and they still didn't catch on that it's being documented to prosecute you. It's not giving the impact you're looking for at all, and they're still, again, delusional, because they're thinking, oh, this witchcraft is going to kick in. It's going to kick in one of these days. Any minute, it's going to flip. All those thousands of videos is just going to be erased. It's just going to, just disappear. And everything, it's just going to totally flip, and it's going to turn in our favor, and we're going to be victorious like we always are. This is what the enemy's camp. They're delusional. They're delusional. Meanwhile, years of evidence, proven targeting, and relevant to informing the rest of the country about how domestic terrorism, which is actually happening, criminal monitoring, which is a fact and it's demonic, understanding that system, understanding what Satan is doing, and you're not marrying yourself to any image. Monitoring is demonic. That's a spirit. So you are looking and understanding, monitoring, audible activity, light activity, relevant positioning, happening through any and everything. I've shown you how they're monitoring using vehicles. I've shown you how they're monitoring using planes and helicopters. They're monitoring as people, demons themselves, but it's a demonic environment. You can use any and everything to engage in the elements of monitoring. Okay? That's understanding that. And then you're talking about understanding how public corruption is underway, as you're literally going to prosecute a government for tangible evidence, while delusional psychopaths who lost their mind a long time ago. They lost their mind so much, it's been a trap. It's a trap, in other words. They are incapable of understanding and appreciating, okay, you were caught a long time ago, but that's good. It's providence for you. I have a historic case. 8 FOU 545, and that's a license plate. And not only that, it's providing good. I want the defendant to continuously engage in this. You need to understand and recognize the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct, there is no anomaly. There is no exception. There is no point at which, I stated this, and yeah, most of the time it's that, but sometimes it's that. No, you are able to witness. There is no deviation from it. It is indeed the P.O.C. Now you're all just sitting back. You can literally sit back and eat popcorn and watch the P.O.C. unfold. Even though you shouldn't be deriving pleasure from watching someone else suffer. That's a spirit, and you need Jesus if that's what you're doing. All right? But what I do mean is that this is intended to publicly expose corruption and to embarrass Satan and all of his cockroach minions. All right? The demon-possessed are the cockroaches of mankind. All right, they are in need of Christ Jesus. The Lord loves them. He died for everyone's sin. He did. And it is his desire that none should perish, but that all should come to the saving knowledge of Christ Jesus. Okay, paraphrasing scripture, but that is not the case. Not everyone, and in fact, most will not. And there are those with whom they've made a decision that they can't go back on. There are those that have made that level of a decision. And there's a consequence for that. And you're witnessing a society of people that chose death. They chose to sacrifice themselves, and they thought it was going to be someone else's death. They thought it was going to be the sacrifice of another person. And they thought that because their mind, this is how the trap went. And this is because of the wicked things that they've been doing for a long time. It's called judgment. It's judgment. It's just judgment. And it's unfortunate. And the entity is so, it's like the Bible describes. A man that looks in a mirror, you look at yourself, you study your reflection, and you walk away, you forget what you look like. This is the entity. They get the warnings, and then they engage in, they hear it, and then they engage in the exact same ongoing course of conduct, which is harmful to themselves. So they've engaged in this. That's all criminal summoning under a fake sun. So the entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct, and in its doing so, pursuant to what is harm to itself, harm to. I want to be clear. Agencies in Northern California that I've never been. They've never been a relevant position to me with regard to me being in the immediate vicinity. But bigger picture, You're in relevant position in the state of California. This is a prosecution of the state of California. The state of California is the facilitating venue. All of California is monitoring, while geniuses kept a fake son over one street. All right, that's to the exclusion of every other location in the country, let alone in the state of California. What you're seeing over the Ontario Town Square next to the large clock is not in Oakland, California. It's not reflecting off of any person's vehicle in Sacramento, California. Okay, it's not sitting over Google in San Bruno. There's only one sun. While you hear those sirens, that's the government that's still engaging in psychopathic, sexually perverted, and delusional criminal conduct. All of those adjectives apply based on everything that's already happened and what they know while they're doing that same pattern of conduct, okay? So this is nothing other than a little bit of an analysis, and they're doing it with the people of the state, okay? The entities engaged in what is public corruption, doing so in a specific environment. They're demons that are sitting back watching their own demise oncoming, and that's also judgment, because the entity wanted to stalk so much, you wanted to watch so bad, and so now they're watching their public exposure. They're watching themselves being exposed in the way in which they never wanted to be associated. They want to falsely depict the targeted individual as, by the way, the monsters that they actually are. When you're falsely accusing somebody of being a pedophile, that's what Satan is admitting to you for being. And that's specific to these defendants that engaged in defamation. Criminal activity, how many times have you engaged in stealing my identity, taking loans out in my name, and I don't even know you? How do you even know who I am? This is answering your questions regarding what I've already let you know about surveillance. Strangers engaging in criminal conduct against people that they don't already know. This isn't randomness. This is surveillance that's underway. And you're told about buying Norton for your computer in order to protect your privacy. They're selling you products. You're being monitored. It's not protecting your privacy at all. Okay? McAfee is not protecting your privacy on the computer. You're being monitored. The surveillance is underway. Okay? And the entities engaging in this, while they are engaging in criminal conduct in ways that are also letting you know surveillance is underway in this country. And you've engaged in targeting me because they thought they thought their witchcraft was going to work. Okay, they never counted on this day. And while I'm still alive, breathing, documenting, publishing, they're still engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct. Do you understand? You're going to prison and you're not getting out based on your maniacal conduct. All right, based on what you demonstrated to a federal judge. That's exactly what they consider at sentencing. Oh, not only did you engage in it, oh, you just were just having a field day. You just had no intention to ever stop, did you? You never intended to stop hunting down this American citizen. You never intended for it to get to this juncture because you were so sure that this government system, which is designed to insulate someone, it's not designed for you to survive it. So this is literally a miracle given by Christ Jesus. It is. Okay, and that's also why you're not getting out of federal prison. But you never intended for this person to survive it, and let alone have not only the mental and intellectual ability to prove it single-handedly. Because when the police are the criminal, who are you reporting it to? And this is the plight of the ordinary target individual. That in and of itself is psychologically harmful. That in and of itself. Who do you report it to? Like, where do you go? Okay, who are you reporting to? What site are you gonna get on the internet and tell the feds about something they've never even heard of? And the feds are engaging in that as well. They're engaging in it. And what are you talking about? Gang stalking? What are you talking about? This is how this is designed to work. While you're kept in a bubble, you're going to prison and you're not getting out. You aren't getting out because the American citizen was never supposed to be able to climb out of that pine box that you thought you put them in. They weren't supposed to be able to climb out of that grave that you declared they were going to be in. Actually, no, it's not them. It's going to be you. You're going into a box in a federal facility. And whatever demonic entities that you summoned, whatever you brought on yourself, you're going to deal with that. That's why their minds are gone. You are out of your mind stalking in a helicopter. You are out of your mind stalking in commercial planes. You don't have anything else to do, Southwest Airlines. You don't have anything else to do, Alaska Airlines. Nothing, little old me. And it is proven. You can engage in much flight as you want. I'm going to document it, but it's never going to change. It's as conclusive as the fake sun. All you are doing is stalking. Psychopaths who are delusional engage in more criminal conduct, delusional behavior, and they think the pure numerosity of that delusional behavior makes it more realistic and makes it, and that's rebutting it. No, it's not. It will never be the natural environment, including as you keep that fake sun day in and day out. Never. The inability to even appreciate that, that's the entity that's accustomed to getting away with corrupt acts, such as murdering people, sexually violating them, exploiting them, stealing from them, defaming them, lying on them, bearing false witness, in other words. And I want to be clear, not only do they practice this as a society, you got a bunch of psychopaths that are just sitting around, walking around, driving around, studying their devices, monitoring me. They're psychotic. They do so walking their dog. They do so walking with their kids. They do so sitting at the park. They do so in their businesses. They do so driving on the roads and the highways. All they're doing is monitoring. And your ability to know that is a fake sun sits over me from sunrise until sunset. These are mentally ill, mentally unstable, demon-possessed people who are engaged in criminal conduct, which is also proven. And they are mentally sick while they try to defame someone else, but you're sitting up relying on hocus pocus to take somebody out. It's not going to happen, and you're going to be in a padded room. You're going to end up in a padded room. All right? This is the entity that is, again, Jason Isaac Fields. This is his condition. This is a delusional psychopath who is still relying on witchcraft, still engaging in what is psychological torture while the demon-possessed are gang stalking. He's going to prison, and he is in need of severe and intense, a battery of tests with regard to the level of delusion, the level of disturbance, while he's been engaged in not only relationships with unstable people like Tracy Banks. He has been indoctrinated. He's not a victim. He chose, and he is nothing other than a real-life example regarding how Satan will rob you of your right mind. Okay, and so he's so unhinged. He is delusional with regard to what's going to happen in the future. In the future, he's going to prison. He's not going to be anywhere around me. He's going to prison for stealing from me and then conspiring my death, and he's going to prison for praying for my death to Satan. The Lord heard that. The Lord sat there and watched it. And it's not going to happen, and he's going to federal prison. And whatever else happens to him, you need to understand that it's a product of what the demon-possessed have reaped themselves. All right, so it is currently 9:44 a.m. And this is prefacing the documentation of the people of the state. Stalking from Economy Inn, where the fake sun is on Euclid Avenue. Remember, I'm documenting at 6:38 a.m. at 415 North Euclid Avenue. Look at a Google's map. It's the same street. All right, and the sunrise in alignment to me, where I'm at 415 North Euclid Avenue. And today, I'm at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, the Economy Inn. That's where you'll see the fake sun. I'm capturing that at approximately 7. Let me go ahead and give you the exact time. 7:30. Let me see, 7:38 a.m. Let's see. 7:39 a.m. This is the field. You'll see that's Economy Inn on the what would be the right side of that picture. And this is the entity that's engaging in keeping the fake sun over me while thousands of people are driving on Euclid Avenue, and engineer light is flying across that 415 North Euclid Avenue while they're driving south on Euclid, and that fake sunrise is right there while I'm on that bitch, where the city of Ontario is harassing me, talking about I was already getting up. These are demons monitoring. Even through that documented entity of a desperate demon that has to maintain activity. So he did so by harassing me while I was already getting up. And it's not about the fact that I was already getting up. It's the fact that the demons need to maintain activity, and they will do so even by harassing you. Okay, that's what the entity doing with 20 minutes of helicopter is. On top of the fact that they're delusional because it's going on the internet, and that's proven that you're targeting. But not only that, it's because that's the same conduct. What they have at their disposal with regard to demons that are hostile, they'll engage in terrorizing and harassing you using a helicopter, which is then conclusive evidence that Mike LORENZ is a domestic terrorist, and that entire agency is a documented pattern of targeting, which includes kidnapping, while making up stuff while you're stalking me. You making up crimes while you're stalking me. You're going to prison. You are going to federal prison. And the entire agency is done with law enforcement. This is not law enforcement. And this is also why you're going to prison, to make that very clear statement in the United States. It's terrorism. These are domestic enemies of the United States Constitution, of the United States, of American citizens. While you're kidnapping them and stalking them and psychologically torturing them and stealing from them and defaming them, you hate this country and you hate American citizens. And you also hate those that enforce their rights. And you've got a whole bunch of fake Americans. These aren't Americans. These are demons. They hate this country. That's why they're out here monitoring their fellow Americans with the corrupt government. And all I'm doing for you is giving you a practical outlook regarding what are the implications regarding what's happening in the United States under the guise of what is corruption. How would we treat any other terrorist from another country? How would we view that? Because it's not different when you're homegrown. It's not different. It's even more egregious. The audacity of you. You're a traitor. So this is relevant to that documentation that I captured today. And I'm going to go ahead and pause here and document the people of the state as I do board Omnitrans, a state actor. Again, Alan D. Wapner, associated with the corruption. He's a demon, a corrupt terrorist leader targeting me, and the criminal conduct of Omnitrans and the criminal conduct of the Ontario International Airport. Alan D. Wapner is intricately involved in both of those as I document and point out that connection to you. Okay. License 35455V2. License 7KYH204. 63768M3. EG51D17, that's a paper plate on a red RAV4 driven by a female with a minor child in the passenger seat while she's stalking another woman. This is again exposing that whole mentally ill population, exposing that psychopathic mental illness born by an entity that's targeting as a whole population. All right, and also exposing a demon-possessed population and exposing a homosexual aspect of this pattern of conduct. Women are stalking, all of them. All of them are stalking, and they are sharing that obsession with my genitalia. And it's not different because they're of the female gender. This is a homosexual while she's likely, ostensibly living her life as a heterosexual woman. No, she's stalking another woman. She's obsessed with her while she's stalking her as well. This is a spirit, and that's the reality of that. While you're getting beyond a lot of illusions. And you're talking about a society of sex offenders. Contrary to what you're supposed to think and believe and understand and feel safe around. No, when gang stalking and surveillance is underway, this satanic system exposed, they're sex offenders. Predators. All right? License plate 6SFU457, 8FTU455, 8WJF429. 8WJE429, 5RWV836, 9HMS615, License 9ESR587, 9HMS522, License 53825, that's a handicap plate. Molesting with impossible light activity. Those are the demons from Euclid Avenue who are indeed being documented right now. Those are the same sex offenders gang stalking while I'm on Omnitrans. And so while I'm sitting at the Ontario town square where the Ontario International Airport is flying over my head targeting the demons who are on Euclid Avenue, who I'm documenting also by license plate. And as I refer to them, those are, like I said, these are indeed sex offenders who are going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism. These are the same sex offenders that are molesting inside of the venues everywhere I'm at, engaging with a surveillance of a woman's genitalia. This is a society of sex offenders, a society of psychopaths, a society of demons. And they're doing so in furtherance of murder. This is why they're stalking under a fake sun, stalking with planes and helicopters, stalking as a population, millions of people keeping one person under surveillance together and shooting around a light while they're monitoring the evidence, keeping it under surveillance, knowing that they're being documented. While I'm subject to that proven supernatural occurrence of stalking with light. And again, the sex offender, license plate 53825 handicap. All right, license 44427J2. License plate 9NIJ740, license 9RXF257. License 4XRP898. In case I did not read this one again, 9URL337. And Omnitrans gang stalking happening on the bus while you're looking at the P.O.C. Gang stalking as also proven while I get off the bus, and that fake sun is no longer moving. It remains over me where I get off of that bus stop at 150 East Hope Boulevard at Euclid and Hope Boulevard. And as I walk north up Euclid Avenue, there it is arriving at the Ontario Town Square, as opposed to what I'm documenting on, like I documented yesterday as I arrived before this time. The fake sun is already here because I'm already here, and it's also coming from the opposite direction. I'm coming from 415 North Euclid Avenue walking south to this venue. I'm coming from 2301 South Euclid Avenue coming north toward this venue, and while the entity is keeping the fake sun, as I'm showing you, it's setting on this same street. All right, Omnitrans, that is gang stalking, license 1234706, and that is vehicle 2504 driven by an African-American female. And the entity is gang stalking as a society of demons, a society of mentally ill, violent sex offenders who are engaging in criminal surveillance in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. Amongst others, they are also engaged in the federal offense of conspiring murder as a government system, organized crime. And this is relevant to what is a federal RICO case. Okay? This is P.O.C. Got a couple seconds. License 6VOF829, 9DFK437, license 7ZNF527, license 07720H3, license 8VXF855, and stalking, again, they're all monitoring with Wells Fargo, who is engaged in gang stalking as well, at 240 North Euclid Avenue, 7HMB823, and license 7DET901, license 7HPX573. This is P.O.C. Let me give you one more. License 8WPD781. And the entity will engage in keeping the fake sun that's already over the Ontario Town Square, where the sun is an ongoing, constantly moving, gaseous ball of fire, supposedly rising in the east and setting on the west. What the demon-possessed do is they keep the fake sun on the east side of my person, sets on the west side of my person, and that is underscored when you see me, my person remaining at one address: the Ontario Town Square, the Ontario City Hall, the Ontario Fire Department, the Wells Fargo, the Ontario Downtown Luxury Apartments, the Metro 102 Apartments, the 280 North Lemon Apartments. This is all one plaza. And the fake sun is going to remain over the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, after remaining over the Ontario Town Square, which is that fake sun moving east to be over that entrance, and then engaging in that ongoing, no matter, this is what is so funny about what they do. The fake sun remains rising in the east and setting in the west, but the entity will keep the fake sun on the east side of my person, and then setting on the west side of my person. So when my person goes east, the entity just moves that fake sun east, which is what's happening when it goes over the OVITT Family Community Library, and then it just restarts. That's how I get it over the Ontario Town Square at 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, like I did today. And then I go to the OVITT, which is west. It's across the street, but it is in the direction west. And then I go back to the Ontario Town Square, and it's in the position that it was at 8 o'clock in the morning. Because of this idiotic conduct, the demon-possessed are not intelligent. They're demons. This is a demonic spirit. And just because there's a lot of idiotic people, that does not make them superior. There are a lot of inferior actors. So the fake sun's going to be over the entrance, which you already know. And of course, it's outside of conformity of being in Hesperia, being in alignment with the windows inside of that Hesperia Holiday Inn off of Key Point, where I'm showing you sunlight inside of that cafe where I'm eating breakfast at the Holiday Inn at 9750 Key Point, filling it with sunlight, keeping the sun outside of that window, keeping the sun in perfect line with me of that entrance, keeping the fake sun through the hallway window of my hotel room. Not only my hotel room as I go to my room, but also in that hallway. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you look at my documentation. I would go into the hallway to show you engineer light that's on the inside of the hallway, and then the fake sun object, which is remaining outside of that very small window of that hallway from morning until afternoon, like it stayed there. This is, again, and I capture it because the entity that is full of inferior demons, not only is it laughable, but it is a surefire prosecution for surveillance. While the entity provides evidence of that stupid and idiotic nature, license 9NXY391, a sex offender, a demon, a terrorist, conspiring murder, and so are the aged, liver spot covered, crusty skin demons that are monitoring your vagina under the fake sun while collecting benefits from the government, gang stalking, 90579S3, monitoring as well, impossible light all across the building, while A. Casada and the other two sex offenders talk to the people of the state outside under the 12:13 p.m. fake sun. ASHI Hart, same exact P.O.C. Homosexual spouse, while her gang stalking partner is driving the vehicle, and they're both obsessed with my genitalia. Okay, this is the entity that's stalking together, staring at their devices while they're monitoring. Okay, the hefty demon with the pink shirt on, staring at her device under the fake sun that's moving as I move, going toward the OVITT Family Community Library, where it's still present, where the Ontario police are under the fake sun engaging in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire Department, with the American Medical Response, all engaged in federal stalking and violent sex offenders, mentally deranged and delusional. Okay, and they're engaged in criminal conduct with the people of the state, who are going to federal prison. Because this pattern of conduct is what's happening when they're committing kidnapping. You're going to prison. This pattern of conduct is what's happening when they're engaged in criminal summoning. And you're going to federal prison for that. This pattern of conduct is what's happening when you're engaged in harassment. And you're going to be prosecuted. With regard to the facts and evidence, you may very well also end up in federal prison. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct when they're engaging in what is threatening, when they're engaging in any assault and battery, they're doing so while they're stalking you under a fake sun, while they're molesting you with impossible light. And then those psychopaths look at you and speak to you as though you are doing something wrong. That's the psychopath. And that's the same psychopath that sits there on the sidewalk, those demons sitting there talking to the police and they're gang stalking together. They're going to be prosecuted as the terrorists, as the psychopaths that they are. Okay? And by the way, it's not intelligent. It's exposing public corruption. And by the way, public corruption is speaking to what is the actual unity of all races and ages. That's what Satan doesn't want you to know. Oh, these demons are unified. Satan doesn't have a spirit and a race and a gender and an income bracket. Okay? And Satan also doesn't have any boundaries. We'll use children. We'll use, you're looking at the government. You're looking at all manner of desperate acts. And you're doing so, why would you on video? You know that I'm documenting, so I'm going to capture you under the fake sun, driving in a fire truck, an engineer light moving all across the black asphalt, on the ground adjacent to that vehicle, under evidence where the sun's remaining over me in an entirely different location, and it's also still here, where the agency that's also going to be prosecuted by your criminal conduct, that's 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9 hours later, where that sun doesn't go anywhere when it's merely on the west side of the same building, and you want to be looked at seriously when you pull up 3 hours later under that same fake sun, aiding to the people of the state that are stalking with impossible light. They're dead, they're pacing, that's all they're doing. And they're all sitting around salivating over my vagina. And while they're salivating over my vagina, stalking and monitoring, they do so while they're holding the hands of kids, showing that they're violent sex offenders, that they're threats to the children that they have sex with as well, that they put up as sacrifices. Okay, stalking with impossible light, another homosexual psychopath, 7DTA231, the same conduct of the Ontario Fire. And what do? They present evidence of the entity that is very much worthy of federal prison. 9JBC 359, African American demon, in operation of a communication device, impossible light dragging behind his bucket while he goes out of his way. He can't afford a decent vehicle while he's engaged in gang stalking me, and he needs to get his priorities together. That's not a man. That's a demon. That's a sex offender. Okay, and the entity that's engaging in this likes to present itself one way in life. This is the illusion of Satan. Predators and criminals, people that will do harm to you, people that do not mean you well, are the demon possessed. And you're not supposed to be deceived. Do not be deceived by the appearance of the thing. This is how you have this level of public corruption. P.O.C. All right, it's 10:05 a.m. where you're looking at the fake sun and I'm documenting the demon possessed, and all they're doing is pacing. That's why the fake sun is still over me in the middle of the afternoon and in the evening at this same entrance where a population is stalking me. And that same population is the one that's engaged in what is that pattern of conduct of all the iterations of that same P.O.C. Okay? That's, again, 10:05 a.m. What is this? The Water Conservation District of the Chino Basin? Oh, they're engaged in harassment in the same way that I just documented. Impossible light while they're setting up a booth. The demons are pacing, and the fake sun is over them while they're setting up that booth. Engaging in surveillance outside of the bathroom is actually what they're engaged in. It's P.O.C. It's 10:05 a.m. Good morning. I'm not sure if you guys have any rooms available. One patient ahead of you. Give me 1 second. Let me answer their question. Okay. And then I'll help you out. No problem. Thank you for holding. How can I help you? Oh yeah. For what time are we looking for? As early. So that's a demon with multiple shadows pushing a bookcase, pacing in and out of the administration door, the gang stalking City of Ontario employees who are engaged in monitoring. In the same way that they're pacing around the turn circle under the fake sun, that's here as a matter of evidence since before 7 a.m. when I'm here before that, but arriving here later than that because the entity is engaged in surveillance and stalking with a satanic environment in order to terrorize, harass, and psychologically torture you, while then thinking that they could falsely depict your character because you're not supposed to have evidence of a government targeting you. This is, again, gang stalking employees who are conversing, using communication devices, answering customers' questions, pushing around bookcases in engineer light. They all have impossible light. The artificial light in the building does not create the multiple shadows, the same engineer light that's happening outside. They're demons. The fake sun's over the library, and they're all engaged in what is monitoring my vagina. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's called malice. The impossible light that I'm being terrorized and harassed with is relevant to criminal conduct that they're sharing in, while I then come in and talk to them about checking out a conference room. They're gang stalking. P.O.C. Oh, yeah. If you have one available for the whole 2 hours, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting now. Did you want it now?
Yes, please. Yeah, that'll work. Hi, Abby. How's it going?
Good. How's it going, Erica?
Fine.
Yeah, fine. Fine
Happy
enough for
Monday,
Yes,
right?
happy
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a Monday, but it is Monday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monday shenanigans.
That's sure. That is for sure.
Love it down in the community library. How can I help you today? Do you have your library card, Erica?
I do. Oopsie.
Okay. Hold on one moment.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I have to bend up my... Here you go.
Thank you.
What are we looking for?
The guy on the phone wants to make an appointment.
I got you.
And I'm like, what? Okay. So I gotta get used to this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Appointment. I need a piece of paper.
Do you mind if I get some... I know you're running up. Can I get some disinfectant wipes, please? Thank you.
There you go. One extra
Yes,
one for the road.
thank
You know,
you.
never can be too.
You know, you've been here for a while.
Wipe everything.
Thank you, yeah. Okay. Look at your bed. It's 10:10 a.m. and the entity is engaged in monitoring while I remain in the conference room as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gang stalkers remaining in the adjacent room, study room number 1. One Asian woman with a communication device and another Caucasian with a minor child while they're engaged in gang stalking. All they're doing is engaging in surveillance. So you're looking at creative ways of stalking in the path. Let's tutor, let's come and study. The state of California is engaging in what is a very heavily invested and failed pattern of conduct. It's fully exposed, I'm going to prosecute, and you're looking at public corruption. While, by the way, when you literally break down, you're looking at pedophiles that engage in gang stalking through the appearance of doing good, like tutoring a minor kid while they're monitoring. All right, and capturing the administration room where they're engaged in stalking with noise, and showing you the back portion of the library where I've shown you the fake sun. This is engineer light that's at the back of the library, and possible light activity while the sun's at the entrance. This is getting to all the malice. while you're looking at gang stalking with kids, or we're teaching them the ABCs, know it's audible activity while you're stalking in the path, and then you're doing so while you're engaged in sexual violence, monitoring another woman's vagina, and the entity, again, is the cloak, this level of deception. You will literally see the fake sign outside of the back portion while I'm facing College of Laverne, University of Law, and that is the rapid movement. This is all impossible light activity. I'm capturing it. It's at 10:11 a.m. It will be uploaded to the Google Drive. Not only are the windows covered with blinds, you're looking at a demon that's stalking in the path, the black hat, that's a woman. She's stalking, very much tracking my steps, and the evidence of that, and let me show you the fake sun that's also tracking my steps, where you are aware of what it is that I'm doing while that fake sun moves as I move. This is stalking, okay? The entity has light on the inside of the library at the back that's flat on the ground. So I'm going to show you, this is my shadow on the ground. That's impossible light activity. It's flat on the ground. The shape of the window is flat on the ground on the inside of the building. It's also showing you what is, again, nothing other than stalking in the path, surveillance in the side of the venue while they're surrounded with engineered light, the operation of communication devices. This is, again, heavy-duty surveillance that the entities engage in. And they also go to be in the bathroom to maintain that ongoing surveillance. That's, again, sex offenders that are engaging in surveillance under the guise of being in a library. So any and everything that entails, all the ways in which you're in a library. These are demons that don't even read. All they do is engage in witchcraft, and they're obsessively stalking, the person that is exposing them. This is what is so fascinating about the demon possessed. But you're witnessing malice. That fake sun is it's at the entrance right now, and you're looking at it go all the way to the back of the building, and that's what happens when I'm outside and I'm walking from the Ontario Town Square to the entrance. It's moving east, it's remaining east, it's over east. I'm documenting the Ontario police gang stalking me by helicopter under that fake sun that's in that same position in the middle of the afternoon, while it is east of the same entrance that it is right now. And the Ontario police are specifically targeting me in that environment, which is proven to be also supernatural, more evidence that you're targeting. You're targeting me specifically. And you're doing so while you also know that it's being documented. That's because you were so sure as a psychopath that you were going to accomplish your witchcraft as a means of murder, and you're targeting me with regard to your criminal acts of defaming and then kidnapping. This is the entity that committed crimes even though it was being documented, because they were assured of the fact that they were going to accomplish murder. They were going to accomplish defamation. That's what's relevant to the fake sun being in a position that it is. I've documented in 2021, I believe. And the College of Laverne, University of Laverne College of Law is targeting me with the Ontario police while they are flying over me in circles, and I'm sitting on the grass under the tree outside of that university, which is behind the back porch that I'm showing you inside of the library. I'm sitting in the grass over there, and the fake sun is over me in the middle of the afternoon. It's 10 o'clock, it's 10:14. These demons are doing nothing other but monitoring, sitting there with crowns and paper with a toddler. These demons are stalking by coming in to engage in whatever it is that they're trying to work on. They're doing it while they're gang stalking, and the flat engineer light on the inside of the library that is at the back portion of the library where I'm showing you that fake sun. This demon that's walking outside of the library at the back with the black hat on is tracking my steps while you see that fake sun over my head, evidence of everybody that's tracking my steps. This is how you are aware of the illusion. And I'm also showing you not only that illusion, but it's also an unintelligent illusion. When you're looking at it, and then you're like, oh, I see it. And then you also see how stupid it is. It's very obvious because that's not the sun. And now everybody can see they are obsessively stalking as demons, sharing specific knowledge of the person that they're trying to take out. The person that they failed in taking out is the person that's presenting evidence to have them prosecuted as an entity for murder, conspiring murder. Because that's the purpose of gang stalking. And the government officials that are engaging in this conduct, not only are they worthy of being removed from office for what is exposed as domestic terrorism, but that which is worthy of federal prison is required as a matter of justice. And I want to be clear, that includes Dominic Choi. That includes Michael Moore before he retired. There's no statute of limitations. All right, this coward retired before I started and resumed my documentation in 2024. Dominic Choi engaged and continued the same criminal system. And that ongoing violence that is a matter of the record is relevant for what is federal prison for domestic terrorists that think that they can get away with torturing American citizens and doing so with the people of the state that are acting pursuant to that same agenda to torture someone, stalk and harass them where they work and where they live. That's what Dominic Choi and the LAPD are captured engaging. That's what Robert Luna and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department are engaging in. When I'm remaining in Los Angeles in 2024, this is relevant evidence regarding Mike LORENZ, regarding Alan D. WAPNER, regarding Michael GERKEN. All right, regarding what is the entity that's engaging in what is the corrupt practices of that government that is acting with the people of the state whom they rely on. They rely on the entity to call the fire department, to call the police. And remember, this is an illusion. They're all engaging in surveillance. Surveillance is relevant to what you are already keeping tabs on. They know where there's a crime being committed already. They're engaging in the criminal conduct that's committed as an entity. The people of the state are the ones that are engaging in rape. The people of the state are the ones that are engaging in robbery. The people of the state are the ones that are engaging in break-ins and assaults and battery and all manner of criminal conduct. And the entity is engaging in surveillance. They already know about it. They're keeping themselves employed and they're maintaining an illusion of privacy while they engage in things such as, oh, we have to conduct an investigation, or we have to conduct a search, or we have to change this law because of the emergency that now exists, and it becomes necessary that we have this right. The entity is creeping in regarding what is the illusion regarding your being surrounded by a constitution. And it's happening pursuant to what is never telling you that you've been under surveillance the whole time. So this is a highly unintelligent and unpersuasive illusion that the entity is engaging in, while they're engaging in all manner of surveillance on communication devices, as I'm showing you in an environment which is showing surveillance by demons who know what's going on between your legs. They want to be next to you while they know what's going on between your legs, in places like bathrooms. That's happening where you live. All right, the entity's doing so with all manner of technology. Okay, technology where they can see you through buildings, through ceilings, where they can listen to you, absent placing like physical evidence. This is all manner of technology that the government is using to keep you under surveillance physically, and these are demons that are engaging in surveillance while they're monitoring. That's what's relevant about the engineered light, about the fake sun, about the stalking as an entity. They're the demon possessed. And you're not calling pursuant to what the fire department and the police department don't already know is going on. That's the entity that's maintaining an illusion because you have not been told that you're under surveillance. And they are all tracking my steps while a fake sun remains over me. From the entrance, seconds later, well, I talked to them for a couple of minutes. And as soon as I walk back to that back portion of that library, I want to be clear that engineer light is already there that's an illusion. The engineer light has nothing to do with the fake sun. Engineer light is present over everything. The fake sun remains over me as I'm showing. This is how you have it being sunny at Alvarado Gardens, and the fake sun's over me here at OVITT Family Community Library. This is how you have engineer light on the elevator inside of the staircase inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, and the fake sun is remaining over Hesperia, over the Holiday Inn, as I'm documenting in 2024. The engineer light has nothing to do with the fake sun. The fake sun documentation and the evidence of stalking with light, which is the engineer light that's all over everything, it's not sunlight. That's the entity that is engaging in what is monitoring. These are demons that are engaging what is presence everywhere. They're life-size upright cockroaches, and all they're doing is maintaining activity all over the place, monitoring people. Monitoring people that they are also keeping under surveillance on devices and on the internet. You're not a stranger. You're not a private citizen. You are fully exposed as in anything that you don't want to know. And by the way, you should be concerned with what Christ thinks about you and what he knows. But there are people that are bothered by the fact that people know what you're doing. The Lord knows what you're doing. But just so that you do know, the government knows everything about you. If you're cheating on your spouse, the government knows it. They know who you're cheating on with. They know who your mistress is and who your mistress is sleeping with while they're lying to you and you're sleeping and cheating on your wife or husband. They know all about it. And you're thinking that nobody knows. Well, first of all, the Lord knows, and that's who really matters. But the government knows. You're under surveillance. Okay? And that's what you are aware of when I'm showing you this fake sun that's jumping from the front to the back of the library, where there's also evidence of it remaining over a hotel on the same street all day long. It doesn't move from being over Economy Inn. Don't forget, when I'm at American Inn on September 1st, that was Labor Day, 7 in the morning, 7:20, if I recollect correctly, it was during the 7 a.m. hour until 11. That FACELA remains outside of that hotel room window in alignment with me. It's not 11 o'clock, it's 10:21 a.m. How are you at the back portion over the College of Laverne, University of Laverne College of Law, in alignment to me, causing any of that sunlight, while you are not coincidentally walking outside of that building as I'm walking inside of the OVIT, capturing that phenomenon? That's a demon, that's stalking. That's that same entity. The cockroaches that are crawling all around me, stalking together, and they also engage in flinging light all over the place. The psychopaths that are obsessed with my vagina, keeping it and me under surveillance, and calling itself a police department, a fire department, an ambulance, an EMT service provider, AMR. Okay, the mayor, a cockroach, monitoring. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and that's relevant to what you will see uploaded to the Google Drive. This is everything that you are deducing from the evidence that I have shown in order to prosecute the U.S. government. Okay, and this is, like I stated, that which has been established for years. The government that has already been proven to be gang stalking, still then after that, after being given what is a warning from God, because that was a warning, the entity then thought, oh no, we're still not going to. We're still going to kill you anyway. This is what the entity is doing by gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice. That's how invested they are in what is murder. Because that's what you're doing when you're proven to be targeting me and you still think you're getting away with it. Oh, that's an impermissible threat, as I have termed it, under the law, where the government's engaging in criminal surveillance. Impermissible. No government entity that's going to keep you under surveillance and further to trying to murder you, conspiring your murder, is then going to continuously do that while they have no business doing that in the first place. But then when you're monitoring the evidence as though you're just going to bypass and forget that documentation, we're taking you out anyway. That's an impermissible threat. You're talking about a lot of people going to prison for that. You are not above the law. You are also not some king wizard. Who do you think you are? Like, what do you think you are? They're delusional. They're psychopaths. And they're all in a library stalking, including the ones that are scheduled to be here on the job, like Abby. She's a gang stalking demon. All right, it's currently 10:23 a.m. and this is P.O.C. All right, it's 11:50 a.m. This is documentation of federal stalking that is ongoing on the venue of the internet. The City of Ontario that's engaged in federal stalking on the Ontario Wi-Fi network. The people of the state and the state that's engaged in surveillance online. And this is relevant to the invasion of privacy that's underway. So while I am specifically on facilitating venue dmv.ca.gov, the state of California is engaged in surveillance. The state of California, in concert with the people of the state, so they're pacing inside of the library. They're all in engineered light. The entity is engaging in what is blocking the ability to progress on that website, DMV, which is pursuant to your private information, your login information, your verification information that DMV asks for. While DMV knows who you are, you're under surveillance by California. That's malice. And the illusion, the maintenance of an illusion that you're not under surveillance, that they have to verify because they don't know who you are, et cetera, et cetera. And the entity is in relevant position at the OVITT Family Community Library under the fake sun, pacing all around like psychopaths who are monitoring my vagina, monitoring my physical movements everywhere that I'm at in the library, and also engaged in what is monitoring on the internet. And this is also happening relevant to logging in with my social security number, my birth date, my name, my phone number, and all that. And the entity is specifically monitoring by blocking access to progress on the website, which is dmv.ca.gov, where surveillance is underway, okay? So this is criminal monitoring, including while I'm being blocked from being able to progress on the website. And I want to document that. So you listen to me talking to Abigail. Abigail's engaged in what is invasion of my privacy. She's monitoring and is aware of the last four of my social security number, the phone number that I'm entering online, what it is that I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. Remember, they're also demons that are aware of everything that needs to be done. So they are aware of DMV that's engaged in monitoring, the entity that's emailing me regarding any sort of renewal with DMV. So the entity is engaged in monitoring all of that, and then engaging in what is monitoring on the internet, including harassment while you're being blocked from progressing on the website in order to complete things that you need to do. For example, like renewing your license or renewing your ID or getting a new ID or trying to pay for it or trying to change whatever it is that you're doing on that website. And the entity is merely doing that for funsies. These are psychopaths that are engaged in what is just harassing and surveilling every aspect of your life and trying to stop you from doing any and everything that you're doing. It's not an internet failure. It's not an inability to for the website to operate correctly. It's pursuant to monitoring. These demons are pacing in front of the library. They're pacing, as you see, the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department engaging in. They're pacing while they are in engineer light and under the fake sun that remains over the same venue. So this is relevant to what is surveillance that's happening around me, and it's also happening on the internet, and I want to document that. The state of California that is engaged in surveillance is doing so while on the one hand telling me, oh, you need to renew your license, and on the other hand, the same state of California that would apply penalties for not complying with what are laws in order to maintain what is an ability to, for example, operate a vehicle or verify your identification where we're all under surveillance and they know who you are. But nonetheless, that same state of California is engaging in what is trying to stop me from doing that which that entity has told me needs to be done by a specific date and time. And they're doing that with the demon-possessed people of the state. And this is what Abigail is engaging in. This is what the demons that are working at the OVITT Family Community Library, this is what the mayor and the police chief and the fire chief, all these demons that are engaging in surveillance are sitting around engaging in that level of harassment to stop you from doing things that the state that's keeping you under surveillance tells you that you need to do, and then engages in what is monitoring, harassing you, stopping and blocking your ability to do so while they're monitoring on the venue of the internet. Okay, so I want to make sure that I document that. This is underway on dmv.ca.gov, where the government's maintaining surveillance on the DMV website. And the people of the state are invading your privacy while the government is invading your privacy on the venue of the internet as well. And the entity does so with regard to harassment as you are subject to what is the ongoing pattern of conduct online. It's currently 11:54. This is P.O.C. relevant to federal stalking under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. Severe mental illness is put into perspective upon the pattern of conduct underway in the private space. Severe. This is all of an entity, by the way, that's stalking in that area with that purpose. And one focal point, which is the genitalia of a woman. All together honing in on that genitalia. When you get a second, do you mind if there's no more toilet seats, covers? I'll wait for you to be done. Oh, thank you. You got plenty over here.
All right, this is again another homosexual woman. This is, if you want to break down demographics, it's totally irrelevant because you're dealing with a spirit. This is a spirit of mental illness, and it's a spirit of sexual deviancy, of obsession and addiction, and also addicted to what it is perceiving with regard to delusion, an intent, a desire, a purpose to sexually pursue, psychologically torture, humiliate. This is the purpose of stalking in bathrooms, with regard to also satiating that obsession of wanting to be near the genitalia, especially when that person with that genitalia would never permit you to be near them. But stalking in a bathroom is satiating that obsessive desire, that sick fantasy. These are demon-possessed females who are engaging in homosexual type violence. Stalking me in the bathroom, and you will see in the images, she's just standing there. You can see her feet, she's not moving. And she's a demon, she knows what I'm doing on my phone. Okay, now the entity that's engaging in that illusion, like you're not under surveillance in the United States, like they're not monitoring, like they're not demons, and like they're not sex offenders, they're engaging in what is necessarily acting like they don't know what you're doing on your phone, because then that would be admitting too much knowledge. Wait, how do you, and this is what I always ask too, wait, why would you assume what I'm doing on my phone because I'm holding it? Because they're holding their phone too, and you don't see me going around, oh my gosh, you are taking pictures of me. Oh my goodness, you know, that would be what the entity actually intended for you to do. Behaving like a paranoid schizophrenic is what the demon possessed, who know what it is that you're documenting and who lack self-control, are very much basically untrained in what is supposed to be their passive-aggressive engagement in that pattern of conduct, which again is actually not passive-aggressive. It's very aggressive when it's coexisting with the state stalking you by plane and helicopter. Very aggressive with the engineer light, very aggressive under the fake sun, very aggressive while a population of zombies are engaging in what is stalking one person, and the whole purpose for everyone being there is stalking, including while you go to a location that you've never been to before and there are people that work there. Those are demons as well, and all they're doing is stalking you while they're in that place of employment, where they remain after you leave, and that fake sun leaves with you. They are doing nothing other than stalking you. This is the illusion of normalcy. That's a homosexual woman. She's Asian. She's engaged in obsession with my vagina. And on behalf of millions of people that are together keeping my vagina under surveillance in the bathroom and engineered light, which you'll also see, she is waiting until the moment that my legs are spread apart and that I am necessarily touching myself to flush the toilet, which is activity creation in engineered light, while she's stalking in the path, and a population of demons are together engaging in sexual violence. This is, again, violence shared by a casada who's stalking under the fake sun outside while they come inside an engineer light. And her gang stalking, it wasn't just a casada, but the two male demons that were wearing Ontario police uniforms as well. They're sharing in sexual violence as one entity. The fake sun's in the same position over the same entrance that it was this morning as I walked in. That's also how you know what is the focal point inside of this bathroom and that venue. Every employee, everybody pacing outside at the C Street turn circle, everybody working in Wells Fargo, everybody across the street at the Herradura de Oro, everybody at the Ontario Town Square, everybody in the Ontario City Hall, everybody inside of the Ontario Fire Department, all of the airlines, all of the passengers, everybody, every demon every demon that is stalking, flying over this venue, are sharing what is monitoring my vagina, and together stalking with activity the moment that they are aware that my genitalia is being touched, while they are monitoring that and engaging in what is a psychologically and sexually violent iteration of the pattern of conduct. Those are sex offenders that place cameras around you and want to watch you get undressed without your knowledge, that want to sell that footage on the internet and make money off of it, that want to engage in what is satanic rituals in order to cause you a heart attack, to cause you a brain aneurysm, to cause you to die by some mysterious poison in your body, that want to stalk you and psychologically torture you and then falsely depict your character as being one who is mentally ill, you're paranoid, or you're hallucinating, or you're bipolar, whatever it is that they're stating, while they're monitoring and engaging in what is obsession with your genitalia. This is specifically a Jezebel spirit. That sex offender is what is Tracy Banks, who's obsessed with my vagina. That sex offender is Jason Isaac Fields, who is obsessed with my vagina and still engaging in the conspiracy to commit murder as an entity. They are still engaging in this pattern of conduct as an entity. That's why an Asian woman who is homosexual is stalking in the bathroom and waits until the moment that she knows as a demon not only what I'm doing on my phone, and she's sharing that knowledge with the African American male who's demon possessed sitting outside of the bathroom. The demons, the group of them that are sitting outside of the bathroom, outside of this room. The demons that are filling the library at the circulation desk, that are walking in and out of the entrance, that are filling the administration area of the library. They're all together monitoring my vagina. And that's the level of knowledge that you have and that you need to know with regard to the egregious sex offense that is gang stalking. And you're going to be prosecuted as a violent sex offender, one that is a terrorist, that engages in terroristic means of sexual violence and further into the conspiracy to murder. And this is sexual violence that a demon-possessed population secretly practices together. You don't know that your genitalia is being monitored when you're in the bathroom. You don't understand that there's a code of conduct that they're engaging in while they're in that private space. You don't know that they are engaging in what is sexually violating your children, monitoring them while they're in the private space, around them, keeping them under surveillance and their private moments. And this is sexual violence that the demon-possessed practice. This is relevant to the P.O.C. Sexual violence, okay? It's 1:41 p.m. The entity is maintaining amplified noise, sounding through the tiles, through the walls, as though you're going to hear this is all noise and engineered light while they're monitoring the evidence of them being sex offenders. That's how violent of a sex offender the demon-possessed are. Okay, it's currently 1:41 p.m. This is documentation of bathroom monitoring at 215 E.C. Street, the OVITT Family Community Library, where homosexual women are stalking with sex offenders who are of the male gender, surrounding together as a population of demons who share in sexual violence, which is no longer a secret. This is P.O.C. License plate 9TOY439, 9SUJ598, 8BYB810, 5SGE574. The entity is engaged in what is not only monitoring, remember the entity is acting in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder. That is facilitation of the entire entity that's monitoring through the demonic sound of what is not the train. It's not a Metrolink train, an Amtrak train, or a Union Pacific train that's amplified. It's as fake as the fake sun that's on the same street over me. It's noise in the environment while 6JBZ209 is crossing path, gang stalking, and engaging in federal stalking using communication devices with the government. And they are acting in furtherance of what is the purpose to murder me. This is why they're obsessively stalking me. And they're demons that commit that. In front of 280 North Lemon Apartments is a demon using a commercial vehicle, stalking in the path with flashing light. 54503D2. It's crossing path monitoring to that that criminal activity. They're not free to engage in facilitation of criminal surveillance. And that's the significance of the flashers in the engineered light under the fake sun. And with regard to what is monitoring someone, you're going to be prosecuted as you're understanding how the demon-possessed are engaged in gang stalking. Not only that, the entity is engaging in this, and it's relevant to where I go to consume, to buy my food that I'm consuming. The entity that's conspiring murder, that's tracking my steps as I walk in and out of venues, stalking me by planes and helicopters, monitoring what it is and where I go to buy food. This is relevant to the entity that intends to do harm, and this is documentation of that entity that's engaging in that. And that's also relevant to Alan D. WAPNER, the gang stalkers of the airlines that are stalking me while I go to purchase food, where the entity is also engaged in what is a documentation of tampering with food with the intent to poison. 7ADU319, 7DKZ444, 7VLH331, engaging in surveillance. They're just sitting on the side of the roads, maintaining traffic, stalking all around me, while the fake sun is proving that because it's remaining over the same Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. It's relevant to, I just want to document that video you just listened to, it's also relevant to the entity that is monitoring with regard to I buy my food from the people of the state. This is P.O.C. All right, I do want to document the video that you just listened to is the entity that's engaging in what is monitoring and tracking my steps. So the entity that's stalking on the same Euclid Avenue with the sunset is where it is during the sunrise, and the entity is engaging in what is selling me the food. The entity that's conspiring murder is engaging in what is gang stalking and doing so while you are a patron of the people of the state, for example. So the entity that's gang stalking as I walk out of Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue is the entity that's sharing in that pattern of conduct. So I just want to document this is the entity that is engaged in a documented pattern of seeking to engage in murder as an entity, and it's relevant that I am subject to that where I'm going to purchase food from the people of the state in the specific environment where the government's engaging in that shared pattern of conduct in that environment using planes and helicopters, as I've documented at Chevron, by the way, at 506 North Euclid Avenue. That's
directly relevant to that P.O.C. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that, cognizant of that, because it is also relevant to that pattern of conduct committed in furtherance of murder. All right, the entity stalking by planes flying over me at the Chevron and then following again as I return to the library. We're at the 280 North Limit Apartments. The entity is engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct as well, stalking in the path with the method of light activity, keeping me under surveillance upon my entrance and exits of this venue. P.O.C. All right, it is currently 9:32 p.m. This is documentation of sex offenders engaging in the sex offense of gang stalking, which is also the criminal system that the people of the state, that is the government, that is engaging in it, and doing so in furtherance of the exposed conspiracy to commit murder. So these are sexually perverted co-conspirators to murder who are engaging in what is psychological torture as the demon-possessed, who commit things such as stalking with impossible light, doing so in an effort to psychologically torture, sexually violate in furtherance of committing murder, and doing so while they are engaged in what is public corruption with the government. This is a population of psychopaths who are engaged in violent sexual conduct such as stalking in bathrooms, and they do so while they are engaging in what should be mundane conduct such as traffic. But you are aware of the fact that the state of California is filled with pedophiles and sex offenders, voyeurists that are also mentally ill, who engage in serial killings. They routinely murder people that they gang stalk in California. So the following sex offenders are documented engaging in the P.O.C. They are doing so with regard to facilitating venue as well. And this is including many of the license plates that I also captured last night. So I'm going to include that today. That was last night, which was September 8, 2025. It's the same entity. So I am noting that. They are uploaded to the Google Drive. It's the same entity full of sex offenders who are engaging in the same pattern of conduct. Okay, being across the street, turning onto Euclid Avenue will never result in what is shining me with light, touching me with light. That's a sex offender, and that is the deviant homosexual females and the sex offenders who are predators, equally violent, while engaging in what is stalking and molesting with light, while they're also monitoring things like my vagina, stalking and crouching in bathrooms, while they are obsessed with me as one entity, and their demon possession is the root cause, and it's also a national security threat. All right, it is currently 9:34 p.m. I'm going to document the following sex offenders. License plate 9RXF257. 6V15097 at third-party facilitating venue 1006 South Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. License 7DGT788, 6VNN036, 18394MU, 18394M1, 79402P2, 7UIZ054, 9NBF561, 9RNX149. The government, which is the Ontario International Airport, is a violent sex offender as well. It's going to be prosecuted for terrorism. The reason why you hear planes is because the entity is stalking. License 9RNX149, 37631R2, 8JUZ826, 8EXX404, 6ZSJ721, 7ZWF780, Okay, sex offender with a Texas license plate VLC2299 and license 8SWF069. and the entity is engaging in what is a sex act committed by the demon-possessed, who are to date still engaged in the criminal system of gang stalking committed in furtherance of murder. So this is, again, to date, and this is relevant to the federal prosecution of the government and domestic terrorists that are going to be targeted and sentenced to prison, and detained and subject to assessments regarding mental illness and assessed and whatnot. And the evidence shows that the entity is to date still engaging in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder by virtue of gang stalking. And that is proven while commercial planes are hovering over 415 North Euclid Avenue at what is 9:35 p.m. I'm documenting the entity flying over the storefront, stalking as I go from Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and then I go north to what is 415 North Euclid Avenue. And that's both of those addresses where I'm documenting the sunset and the sunrise. This is also where the entity is flying miles away from the airport to engage in flying over the storefront, flying over the venues where I'm located, hovering and doing so. And that volume is relevant to hovering, not a plane takeoff miles away from 2500 Airport Drive. And the entity is also engaging in that with the intent to obstruct justice. That is ongoing psychological torture and harassment and conspicuous stalking while they are keeping evidence about their criminal conspiracy to commit murder of the federal prosecutor and / targeted individual, while they're keeping that evidence under surveillance. This is all informing as charges are going to be brought, as the allegations are detailed, as the color of the crime is understood before a federal judge, before a federal court, and before the world, before the nation. Okay, that's engaging in what is terrorism in the state of California. That, as you are aware, as the government practices sexual violence, a population practices sexual violence, and this is directly conflicting what is the illusion about law and order and putting sex offenders where they belong and labeling them and putting them on the Megan's list. You have L&D WAPNER, you have the police, the fire department that are violent sex offenders, the entirety of those departments, everybody in that department, in each one, and a population, thousands of people, each one of them sex offenders, while they are all stalking with light, while they are all stalking under a fake sun, while they are all sharing in what is corporate invasion of privacy in a bathroom to keep one woman's vagina under detailed surveillance. That's, again, millions of people who are sexually perverted. And they would not like you to know that they are demon-possessed and that they are engaged in targeting you, that you are subject to surveillance. And that also exposes that they are violent, deviant sex offenders. And that's what's behind Stalking with Light. It's occurring at what is 320 North Euclid Avenue, the Ontario downtown luxury apartments, full of sex offenders. The Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, full of sex offenders. ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, sex offenders. The Demons at Gloria's Cochinas at 401 North Euclid Avenue, sex offenders. The demons that are pacing up and down Euclid Avenue, this is not traffic, these are gang stalkers, violent sex offenders by the thousands, okay? Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, sex offenders. The same entity having engineered light through the walls and the windows, I surmise, of the Starbucks while I'm sitting in there, and the same impossible light that they're touching all over my person with, as hostile, violent sex offenders who are obsessed with me, and who are so obsessed, the demons, whereby they have sacrificed their own lives and the lives of those whom they care about, and their well-being, their liberty, by the way, many things that the demon-possessed have sacrificed. They are engaging in what is exposing the fact that they are obsessed with someone that they don't even know, and that's because they are demon-possessed, the demons in them. Okay, the entity is engaging in what is criminal conduct, which is proven regarding engineered light. So those are indeed sex offenders, and it's proving to you, letting you know for your information, that you are not as safe as you feel that you are, as you think that you are when you go out in public, and people aren't walking around with labels and neon blinking signs. The fact that they're watching you on cameras on the dark web, and the fact that they are aware about what's going on. They know the date when your period is on. They know whether you use pads and tampons. They know whether you prefer baths or showers. They know which order you wash your body parts. They know whether you prefer hot or cold water. They know how many times you brush your teeth every day. They know which direction you're brushing your hair or combing your hair. They know how frequently you are leaving and returning home. They know all of these things, and they're sex offenders. They're demons who engage in molestation with impossible light activity. This is a population of maniacal psychopaths who are stalking in commercial airline planes. And let me remind you about those sex offenders by company name. That's a demon that's speeding the moment that I open my phone. Those are the sex offenders monitoring your genitalia in the United States, and I document many of them by license plate for your convenience, for your protection. Okay? The entities that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance, which is sexual violence. Sexual violence exposed while gang stalking is underway, and it's sexual violence that you are subject to, that you are no longer secretly subject to. Alaska Airlines is a violent sex offender. American Airlines, Avianca, China Airlines, Delta Airlines, Frontier Airlines, JetBlue, Southwest Airlines, Amazon Prime Air, Volaris, United Airlines, Starlux Airlines, FedEx, and UPS, who are engaging in sexual violence through the system of gang stalking. They also practice sexual violence as demons that are molesting you with impossible light that you never paid attention to. And while they're pacing all around you under that which is not even the sun, and at nightfall they're also engaging in what is a sex offense, a sex act by demons that are engaging in a ritual right in front of your face. All right, and the sex offenders engage in things such as, like I've shown you, homosexual women that create the illusion of normalcy and being heterosexual and quote unquote normal based on that which you have been preconditioned to accept as. You've even been given a picture of what normal is based on the world standards, by the way, not based on Christ's standards, not based on the Holy Scriptures, but you've been conditioned regarding what is normal. And these are heterosexual demon-possessed stalkers obsessed with my vagina. They're homosexuals. And those are the ones that are also molesting me with light. This is the same thing that the Ontario Police Department are engaging in as well. Not different. And I'm documenting that same sexual violence. Those demons are being disbanded. That's engineered light and ongoing noise and crossing path while a demon is on a skateboard with a communication device, monitoring together. What you are also always mindful of is the demon-possessed that are monitoring me, this is what they're doing to your children. So these are indeed pedophiles. They very much are engaged in what is sexual gratification in ways in which you are ignorant about, but you're not ignorant about anymore. And they do it while they have kids of their own. They do it while they're pregnant with children. They do it while they are stay-at-home moms and dads. They do it while they lead Bible study. And they are straight up and down pedophiles. Okay? Those are the demons that are molesting me with impossible light. And many of those license plates are there for your knowledge. This is to benefit the public, and it's going to remain a part of the public record. It's also informing federal prosecution for domestic terrorism. It's currently, by the way, 9:44 p.m. This is P.O.C.